All right, we made it Friday. Welcome to Frontline, 6 o'clock here on the East Coast, day 38 of the government shutdown that is now wreaking havoc on air travel. We'll get to that in just a sec. But we start tonight with some breaking news. President Trump welcomed Hungarian President Viktor Orban to the White House today. Hungary's leader praising Trump, calling the U.S. under Biden broke, ruined, and canceled. Also, House Oversight Democrats are looking to have formerly Prince Andrew answer some questions before the committee about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. I can't wait to hear this one. And in Turkey, Istanbul's chief prosecutor office has issued a warrant for Bibi Netanyahu and other high-ranking military officials for what they call genocide in Gaza. Good luck with that, guys. But first, still shut down, but this is how it might actually affect you. Let's do this. So I think America, outside federal employees and SNAP recipients, are actually starting to feel this shutdown. Honestly, I really haven't noticed. I've kind of cheered it on a little bit at this point because I try not to depend on the government for anything. But I'll tell you why. It's now manifesting in air travel, and boy, is this a pain in the rear. And who here would like to know why, though? Hint, it has absolutely nothing to do with Trump. Two parts here. First, let's just do a little civics lesson for the libs.
Let me break this down for you like you were 5 years old. There are 100 senators, right? And yes, there are more than 50 Republican senators, right? But you need to have at least 60 votes to pass through legislation and to reopen the government. And of course, the Democrats know this. So even though they are the statistical minority, they have just enough individuals who are able to hold out to stonewall legislation to reopen the federal government.
Thank you, sir. And why do the libs keep the government shut down? Well, let's just ask the guy who dug through literally every piece of data on the federal government on this.
Hundreds of billions of dollars to create a financial incentive to have this giant magnet to attract illegals from every part of Earth to these states. If that is turned off, the illegals will leave because they are no longer being paid to come to the United States and stay here.
Wow.
And then they will lose a lot of voters.
Yep. And why is it imperative for Republicans to not compromise whatsoever here? Why Republicans have to hold this line in the sand. Thank God J.D. Vance gets it.
Let's sit down and come to a compromise and work it out. And you know what the Democrats' response to that is? Give us everything we want, or we're going to shut down the government and keep it shut down. That is not reasonable behavior. That's not how you do compromise in this town. That is the way that the Democrats have operated. They are trying to take a hostage, and we can't reward that behavior. If we do that, if we say, yes, of course, we'll give you everything that you want if you reopen the government, you know what's going to happen? In 3 months, they're going to come back to the administration, and they're again going to say, we're going to shut down the aviation industry. We're going to deny people SNAP benefits unless you give us exactly what you want. That's how a child behaves.
Now you get it. And Republicans better not buckle on this one. Yes, look, it's going to sting a little bit for a little while, maybe even be a little bit more politically uncomfortable than Republicans are used to or enjoy, but this is the Democrats' playbook, and we give it to them every time, okay? By the way, this has actually shown us that those illegals are more important to the Democrats than, like, you, me, every other tax-paying citizen. Remember that in November and in 2028, okay? Don't let that one slide, because their policies are so bad on the Democrat side that once people have had a few years here, they immigrate here, whatever, they realize that the Democrats' policies are the worst. So Democrats have to just, part of their campaign strategy, you just got to start importing new people and rushing them through. And illegals are voting, folks. You know when they automatically give you a driver's license? Yeah, a lot of those states are automatically registering people to vote. So they're getting a ballot. And if Republicans buckle now, we just maintain Biden's status quo. I mean, that's what we're putting forward at 15 CRs. It's got to be reversed. And I'm sorry, look, I have to fly somewhere on Tuesday for the day. So I get it, folks. But I would rather have a flight delay than never winning another election ever again, because Democrats will raise my taxes, import more people, strip my culture, and then try to take my guns. But the most visible manifestation of this government shutdown is air travel delays.
So we're going to just rent a car and drive.
So, we end up getting a hotel.
Drive from where?
From here to Wilmington, North Carolina. People are really hurting out here. And it's not just the traveling public, but it's affecting the whole economy. And you people are to blame.
He's right. This is happening because our last president was more interested in diversity than actually making sure planes can fly. So I don't want to hear another word from Democrats. Oh, those Republicans are making my flights late. They're not. Under Joe Biden, or I guess whoever was in charge of the auto pen, they left Trump with 3,000 vacancies on day one in the air traffic control department. On day one. While simultaneously also, they rejected over 1,000 white applicants for those open positions. I mean, really great job, Democrats. Again, Democrats are definitely to blame for all this, okay? Trump came in and not only offered bonuses and incentives to get those people in the door, but also had his administration went out and called those 100 or 1,000 white applicants to try to get them to come back and apply again. I mean, the man can only do so much. But here's the other side of this equation. It may sound a little crass, but I'm just kind of over caring about that. Air traffic controllers, as Ronald Reagan said, get back to work. Look, folks, I was a JTAC, okay, effectively a combat air traffic control guy over in whatever area of the world they sent me to. Only mine involved dropping bombs, so let's not compare stress levels here, okay? I get it. And when I was overseas, we ran ops 7 days a week, and being 5,000 miles away from home in a combat zone, I had no choice but to work, even through a government shutdown, whether I got paid or not. So this is coming from a place of complete understanding of the industry and of how rough and tough this can get and how stressful it is. But go back to work. And it's not just me saying this. 31 U.S. Code 1341 basically says under the Anti-Deficiency Act that air traffic controllers, they must report to duty. And look, they will pay you eventually, but you have to keep working. This is in the fine print when you start working for the federal government. These people, just like I did when I joined the military, agreed to carry out the duties of my job, no matter what Congress's appropriations or failures of are. Now, according to the Government Employee Fair Treatment Act of 2019, they do have to get back pay, but you have to keep working regardless of your paycheck showing up in your bank account or not. Here's what's happening now, though. There's another provision of this law that permits people in these essential personnel roles to use their sick leave or their leave days or accrued vacation or whatever. Many are doing that right now to work side jobs to pay the bills or to just get a day off, because some of these people are working 6-7 days a week. But leave in federal workforces are also discretionary, just like most companies, where if you're needed on that day, they don't have to let you take it. Look, the situation is just bad. It just is. I get it. But you took this job, and regardless of Democrats' little temper tantrum to hold the country's services hostage, air traffic control workers have to go to work. It's that simple. I said it from day one that Republicans should be putting single-issue bills forward to pay troops and law enforcement and air traffic controllers. There's actually a bill sitting on the Senate floor right now that they're debating, and they've got cloture, and they've got, unanimous consent decrees and all these crazy legislative words. The bottom line is that bill has been written, and they're refusing to vote on it for whatever reason. I'm like, it's unbelievable. It would have been so hard for a Democrat to actually say no to this, too, if they publicized it, but the Republicans are not doing that. They just keep putting up a CR, continuing resolution of Biden's spending bill like 14 times now, and we're here. And now we have 1,000 flights a day being canceled. Retired civilian air captain and former fighter jet pilot Tom Oltorik. Tom, look, man, it sucks that these people have to work with no pay, but they got to go to work.
Yeah, they do, Carl. We've got some good people out there. They do a great job, but a lot of people are just making ends meet with the bills, and the politicians are doing what politicians do and playing games with this thing. So this is nothing but coercion, political coercion behind the scenes with different leadership and caucus leadership. Mm-hmm. It's totally unacceptable. It's no different than a vaccine mandate, DEI mandate, or a school kid mandate to go to school. It's all coercion, and it's all phony baloney garbage.
Yeah.
And so, this is my thought. Let's just keep these controllers on reduced duty through Thanksgiving. And magically, when the politicians want to go home over Thanksgiving, they don't have a ride. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, too, is like if it affects a politician, actually, that's really the only way to get them to move quickly on pretty much anything. But some of these people, this woman right here, she says she's going to drive from, New Jersey to Utah. Roll this.
I'm renting a car. I have to be back in Utah by Tuesday, and from what I hear with the counters, the airline counters, and TSA, they literally said to me, if I were you, I wouldn't travel over the next 3 days. So,
and who said that to you?
People at the TSA,
I see.
Clear, and the counters, the airline counters, because I think it's going to get worse.
So, like, Tom, I'm not trying to demonize our air traffic controllers because I get it. I was in the military as an E4. They shut the government down. I didn't have a paycheck, and it was basically paycheck to paycheck. But, like, you signed the dotted line. You should have read the fine print. Go back to work. Like, what leverage do we have there?
I mean, you can try to bend arms and appeal, but the money is an issue. People have bills they have to pay, controllers, families, things like that. They've already done this. They shut it down during COVID, that insanity, and they shut it down post 9/11. So this is what we get. We've come to depend on transportation infrastructure like it's autopilot, like it just happens. But when we're playing political games like this is what we get. And if we spread the pain around, things will get resolved a little bit quicker. But I don't believe any politician should be exempt. And yes, people are going to drive. They have to get there. They're going to drive. They're going to do what they got to do to get there. Their first choice is the airlines, of course.
Mm-hmm. Do you see anything on the horizon, though, to be able to get more air traffic controllers in and trained, like, immediately? I mean, this should send a message to the people running these things, like, hey, we got to get these people in. If we have to pay them more, whatever. Like, what is the timeline? If we, doubled the salary today and said, we're going to double your salary, you won't get paid till we reopen the government, but go to work. How fast can we get new people in those towers?
Well, that's a good point. You had Elon on earlier. You soundbited him. In a few years, you're not going to need pilots or controllers because the airplanes are going to be autonomously operated in the technocracy with AI.
Mm-hmm. But this is even coming down. I have a friend who flies private, and they basically told him, "Oh, you're a private plane. There's absolutely no way you're putting wheels down on this airport." And this is like a main airport that he flies into multiple times. I mean, when you're shutting down private aviation, these are the people who donate to these politicians. They're going to start raising hell.
100%, and they should. The politics of this thing needs to stop. People need to understand. Politicians need to understand that the government, people are dependent, the airspace is dependent. The federal government owns the airspace. It doesn't care if it's a small plane, a military aircraft, or a large transportation aircraft. It's a blip on a radar. Mm-hmm. It's a transponder code. And if you don't have the throughput capacity in your high-density airspace around New York, Boston, Washington, and Baltimore, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Tom, last question here. This UPS flight that very unfortunately took off, blew up with like 280,000 pounds of fuel. Do you think that had anything to do with the lack of air traffic control? Was it a safety fault, or was it just happen to happen at this time?
Okay, so it's speculation and absolutely crushing. To see that level of destruction is very distressful for everybody, not just the aviation community. So a lot of my communication channels went dead quiet for many days. No telling what it is. Thoughts and prayers with the family. There's a lot of damage done to this emotional stuff. So it's hard to say what it is. They've got the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder. The NTSB will do a thorough review of everything, and they'll put it all together for us, and we'll know here something in the coming months. I hate to speculate on something like that, but it shows you that we take this sort of stuff for granted, and it's not. The laws of physics are very real.
Yeah, definitely.
And they don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Gravity.
You better bring your best and your brightest.
Yeah.
Hanging those motors, working on those jets, flying those airplanes, and your controllers. Stop playing games.
Right, like Boeing did with DEI. So, Tom, we appreciate it very much, sir.
Great to see you. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you. All right. Breaking news, folks. It's like they watched my monologue last night, okay? Former CIA Director John Brennan, former FBI officials Peter Strzok and his lover Lisa Page have reportedly been issued subpoenas from a federal grand jury as part of the Justice Department investigation into the fake Russia hoax. Doug Burns, former federal prosecutor. Doug, this is music to my ears. It's not where I want to be, but it's a start.
It's music to my ears also, because honestly,
of all of what went on. I mean, you know, the Brennan situation was something that cried out for more investigation, no question about it. I was also very, very sick and tired of hearing everybody on the other side saying this was nothing more than right-wing talking points, Carl. And, oh, everything has already been investigated and debunked. None of that's true. Right. And you know what? It's satisfying because I think the public's starting to realize it.
Yeah. So, Doug, let's take a step back here and walk people through this. You get a subpoena to a federal grand jury. What the hell does that mean?
Well, no, very simple. What happens, the first step is you call the lawyer as a federal prosecutor and you say, we'd like to interview your client. Will he or she come in? And assume, for the sake of my example, they say, no, they really don't want to. They're politely declining. Fine. A subpoena from a grand jury forces you to show up in front of a grand jury and appear and testify. Normally what happens is they do an informal meeting. They say, all right, before we go in, we'd like to sit down with the U.S. Attorney's Office in advance. We'll agree to be interviewed, and so on. But the bottom line for your audience, to put it in simple English, is you must appear. There's no way to get out of it. And then you face a really tough choice. Do you assert your Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, right, on the one hand? Or do you double down again? Because Brennan, remember something really quick. You know, he looked Congress right in the face, Carl, and he said, I wasn't really arguing for the inclusion of the dossier material in that right. report, that intelligence report. Are you kidding me? The stuff that's now been unearthed shows up and down A to Z that he was doing exactly the opposite.
So let's say they go in there. I got a minute and a half left here. They go in, sure. Two scenarios. First scenario is they go in, Fifth Amendment, okay? At that point, do they say, well, you said this, we have documents that said that was wrong, we're charging you? Or what if they talk, do they get immunity? Can you get immunity in these things? Can you make a plea deal and say, I'll roll on, Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, but you got to give me a lesser sentence? Does that happen now, or is that later down the line?
It's a little bit later down the road, but federal immunity is a little tricky in a good way, honestly. You get what's called use immunity, which is they can't use the words you say against you, but they could use other information.
So wait, Doug, if you're Brennan's attorney right now, what do you advise him to do?
That's a very, very tricky question. Basically, no, that's a great question, Carl. And you put me on the spot, right? I'm smiling. No, I mean, basically, you have to figure out where he stands. Probably would end up advising him to take the Fifth Amendment.
Okay. And Lisa Page, Peter Strzok, same thing?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, let's see. They're pretty arrogant. I don't know if they'll listen to anybody but their own little ego there. Doug Burns, we appreciate you getting up fast for us.
My pleasure. Thanks, Carl.
All right, coming up, 2 reporters think they have finally found a suspect for the DNC and RNC pipe bomb January 6th incident. But where have the feds been for like 4 years in this? We're going to ask the guy who is running the Capitol Police Department in just a few minutes. But first, Pete Hegseth is doing his best to root out wokeness in the entrenched military. But unfortunately, they're fighting back. Those details next.
Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country.
Before Charlie Kirk died, he issued a stark warning of terrifying dangers ahead in a new book, Pagan Threat, authored by Pastor Lucas Miles. Charlie said Pagan Threat could save America and that you must read it. Get Pagan Threat free with Newsmax's special offer. Plus, get Dick Morse's new book, The Real Charlie Kirk. 2 great books with our free offer today.
What kind of gift can $39 get you these days? It could send someone to their ancestral village and give them a taste of their heritage, from mom's side and dad's side. That's a big gift for a small price.
I'm Steve Sarkeesian, head football coach at the University of Texas. Energy, blood pressure, it all starts with cardiovascular health. Human delivers championship-level science to fuel circulation for performance and everyday impact. Born from UT Research, backing more than 20 national championships, and for anyone looking to raise their game, even if they don't play one. This isn't just about our athletes. This is for all of us. Cardiovascular health is everything health.
Hi, I'm Trudy of Johnny Chick's Home and Hardware. Customers ask me all the time how to prepare for cold weather and avoid costly plumbing problems. My answer is the Freeze Miser. It installs in seconds without tools and activates only when the water temperature drops below 37 degrees. The Freeze Miser releases the minimal amount of water needed to prevent freezing. It's perfect for your home, farm and ranch, RV, water wells, and much more. Ask for the Freeze Miser at your favorite hardware or farm and ranch store or go to freezemiser.com.
I love Rise Mushroom Coffee, and not just because I look good drinking it.
Hello there.
The all-day energy I get is good too, and it's easy on the stomach. But mostly, it's because I look good drinking it.
Well, even with Pete Hegseth at the helm, the Pentagon is still entrenched in wokeness, and the military, it's all fighting back. I'll give you an example. You remember 6 years ago when my buddy, Navy SEAL Eddie Gallagher, was found not guilty after being wrongfully accused of murder and other crimes by a fellow SEAL. Now, this trial rocked his life. It screwed up a bunch of stuff, screwed up his career, made him really hate some stuff, but it also ruined the trust in the military. It's so many red flags throughout the system it identified. Even after he was acquitted, the military still tried to ruin his life until Trump stepped in and was like, "You're not doing this anymore. It's over." You would think this would be an example moving forward of the problems being exposed and they would be corrected, but no. Unfortunately, the Navy is still pushing this false narrative. Look at this leader development course, okay? Quote, they prioritize truth, upholding military values and accountability over loyalty to their leader and teammate. But it was all BS. It was not actually the truth. Eddie Gallagher, Navy SEAL Chief, and Morgan Murphy, U.S. Navy Captain. Okay, Eddie, this is crap.
Yeah, it is. Carl, I know this has been going on since I retired. It's not news to me. I've gotten calls from cadets that are going through Annapolis, as well as senior enlisted as they go through these leadership courses. This is the narrative they still put out about me, which is, straight lies. And the problem I have with this, right, is just how obtuse the Navy is being. They are continuing to divide trust between the enlisted and the upper brass leadership. And, the reason I'm getting these calls from these cadets and these senior leaders that are going through these courses is because all of them have read my book here, The Man in the Arena, which has the whole truth in it. I know this is my story, but what the Navy doesn't seem to realize is there are QR codes inside this book, which each reader can go ahead and look at all the lies, deceit, manipulation that the Navy did, the prosecutors did. It's all right there, which is why they banned this book from every Navy base and on Annapolis.
But Morgan, look, I had a similar problem when I was in the military. We were court-martialed for prison abuse. We were all acquitted. It was such garbage. And then the military leadership was like, well, just go back to work as normal. It's like, that is such a breach of trust between the guys kicking in the doors and the guys sending us in.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. If you look at what Obama and Biden did to our Pentagon, a lot of these courses that Eddie has found, they look like they were written not by the Pentagon, but by the faculty lounge at Yale or Princeton somewhere. Americans pay more than $1 trillion a year in taxes to fund our military and the VA. And they are right to expect a lethal fighting force. They want a killing machine. They don't want this DEI nonsense that's holding up our military.
Yeah. Well, Eddie is definitely not a DEI expert. Neither am I. But all right, so I want to get to something that probably bothers both of you as much as it bothers me. And we know that the officer corps is teaching all this ideological garbage. But the other thing, the officer corps and the civilian leadership in some parts, formally, I think Pete's doing a great job, is really, they're really bad at for the last 4 years especially. It's incompetence and endless bureaucracy, which is the procurement process. Now, Pete Hegseth met with some contractors today, Eddie, to streamline this, and hopefully this will make the approval process for things better because, as you know, by the time something gets approved through the procurement process in the military, you can buy a more advanced version of it at Bass Pro Shop.
Yeah, this is true. This has been an ongoing problem in the military for a long time, Carl. You and I have gone through this. They definitely need to streamline that for sure. We want our best and brightest out there fighting our nation's enemies. We want to have them have the best tools at their disposal, not the 10 years ago tool.
Yeah, but Morgan, this is the same thing. in 2009, I was testing the, advanced weaponry that's just coming online now in 2025, okay? Why would it ever take so long to do this? Is it just people wanting to check boxes?
No, listen, I found out why. I spent 26 years in the Navy. I'm a Navy captain, but I went to work in the United States Senate as a national security advisor to Senator Tommy Tuberville. And what I heard behind closed doors in the Senate would disgust anyone that serves in the military. I literally heard one senator say, why don't we put 5 ships in the bill, and you take 2 for your state, and I'll take 3 for my state. And as a Navy captain, my head exploded over there. Like, did you ask the Navy if they wanted those ships? I know the ships you're talking about, and they're awful ships. Like, they're worried about parochial issues, how I can get more money and buy votes with the military's budget. And it's just flat wrong. But that's how a lot of D.C. does business.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was in the military, my first thing, I show up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at the team, just got my trident, and they're like, here, go test this weapon. And I spent 4 days freezing my tail off in December in Virginia Beach, testing this gun, dragging it across the beach, and I come back with 5 other guys who were just as tired as I was. This thing is a total piece of junk, don't buy it. It's like, great, we bought 4 million of them. I'm like, what the hell is, Eddie, you know this.
Oh yeah, you can take the Scar Heavy when that first came out.
That was it.
And we were given that weapon 2 days before we deployed to Afghanistan, and that weapon that I was carrying misfired on a time when I needed it to work.
That was the gun I'm talking about.
Yeah, I ditched that weapon immediately after that, but guess what? Nothing was done. They still kept issuing it.
Yeah,
every major weapon system in the Pentagon, every major weapon system is over budget and behind schedule.
Yeah,
all of them.
So dumb. And they always give it to you
national emergency
2 days before deployment, like Eddie. Eddie, Morgan, we appreciate it very much.
Appreciate you, Carl.
All right, coming up, Sydney Sweeney, more than just her jeans are great. She has a big backbone, too. All that and more in our Culture Clash.
Where's my mother gonna... Oh, no. Is this the episode with the breakup?
Reba, we can't agree on the house.
Y'all need Realtor.com. With over 500,000 new listings every month, you could find the one today.
This could be it.
Better put a key ring on it. Realtor.com.
Hello, I'm Franklin Graham. Have you noticed how much the world is focused on peace right now? Well, the real question is, do you have peace with God? You see, God made us and created us, but we've been separated from Him because of sin. And Jesus Christ is God's Son, and He came from heaven to this earth to save us from our sins. And you can have true peace with God through faith, simply believing on Jesus Christ. And if you're willing to turn from your sins and invite Christ into your heart, God will forgive you, and you can experience that true peace right now. Just pray this prayer with me. Just say, God, I'm a sinner. I'm sorry. I want to turn from my sins. I believe Jesus Christ is your Son. I want to trust Him as my Savior and follow Him as my Lord from this day forward. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. If you prayed that prayer, call that number.
Hello, everyone. It's President Donald J. Trump, and it's Trump time. Check out this red beauty. It's one of my new watches. Wear it proudly on your wrist, and everyone will know exactly what it's for, who it represents. It's really going to be something special. It's for your favorite president. Get your watch today at gettrumpwatches.com. Please make a great gift. It's Trump time.
Are you or a loved one a military veteran that has been diagnosed with mesothelioma? Do you have questions about getting the best treatment or paying medical bills? Have you received the proper care and compensation you deserve? Let our firm serve you with the same dedication you served your country. We are exclusively devoted to helping those with mesothelioma. Call now to get this free book, and we'll answer any question you have. We'll even visit you.
Call 800-555-8958 or go to mesobook.com.
Hello, I'm Franklin Graham. We've all been watching the storm Melissa as it hit Jamaica. The destruction is just incredible. Samaritan's Purse is responding with planes taking supplies and people in and out of Jamaica. We've got helicopters. They'll be working up in the mountains and some of these remote areas where people are still cut off. So much destruction has taken place. So please pray for them. We want everyone there to know that God loves them and cares for them. So we need your prayers. God bless you. Thank you.
At Lumber Liquidators, we have the best prices on flooring, and we guarantee it. Find a lower price, we will beat it with our best price guarantee. We have over 200 stores nationwide. Find yours at lumberliquidators.com. Tell them Tom sent you.
Tommy Copper's Zip Up Full Back Support Shirt is redefining compression.
If you do this, or this, or sometimes even this, Tommy Copper's got this.
The ultimate muscle-supporting, pain-fighting compression shirt that zips on easily.
So that you can do all this.
Thank you, Tommy Copper.
Fight back pain. Go to TommyCopper.com and save 40% site-wide today.
You need this. Trust me.
Some people just can't. Well, actually, some liberal people just can't take a hint. What makes them think that like proud conservatives would take back statements? I mean, like they want us to apologize for everything. Sometimes when there's nothing, actually every time when there's nothing to be sorry for. You probably remember this ad from a couple months ago.
But just so we're clear, this is not me telling you to buy American Eagle jeans.
Sydney Sweeney, Hasbro jeans.
You see what I did there, right?
Sydney Sweeney got so much backlash for that ad. For what? Because she said she had good genes? It was actually because it was a good-looking woman that had a successful ad, and the left doesn't have any good-looking women, so they were just angry. So now in a new interview with GQ, her interviewer wanted her to apologize and feel bad and take it back or whatever. Sydney Sweeney's response was definitely awesome. Roll it.
The criticism of the content, which was basically that maybe specifically in this political climate, like white people shouldn't joke about genetic superiority. Like that was kind of like the criticism, broadly speaking. And since you are talking about this, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about that specifically.
I think that when I have an issue that I want to speak about, people will hear.
Just look at the smugness on her face. Oh, you really should apologize. No, shut up. Give her the middle finger and move on. Republican strategist Cliff Maloney and host of Mary Walter Radio, Mary Walter. Look, Mary, this is how you debate.
Well, first of all, I don't mean to correct you, but the left does have good-looking women. Dylan Mulvaney is the best-looking woman that the Democrats have.
Okay, fair point. But seriously, Cliff, in this whole thing, it's like Republicans for so long have been like, oh, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry I offended you. Like, look, I said something on the radio, 15 years ago, and I did the apology thing. And then, you know what it did? It got me more problems. So I was like, you know what? Now I'm not sorry.
Yeah, look, Sydney Sweeney is a saint. This is what we need to be doing. You need to push back, right? When these woke folks come after you, her reaction is exactly right. No, we're done with the nonsense. I'm not going to apologize for something that I'm not sorry about. And apologizing, Carl, as you learn, when you apologize, they just triple down. It's never good enough. And Sydney Sweeney in this interview made it very clear. We can all just say no and move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, so I got to get to this. The Condé Nast announced that Teen Vogue will go under Vogue.com. I don't even know what these things are, but my producers do. And because of that, they laid off some of their employees because they're merging and stuff like that. So some of the employees who still had a job thought it was, they'd take it upon them to, take a stand. Watch this.
So everyone should go back to your workplace.
I work here.
You dismiss us instead of talk to us.
You told us that we have to come work in person here 4 days a week. This is our workplace now.
I've directed you back to your workplace.
Is that a good answer, guys?
Absolutely not. Come on, Stan.
That's not a really good answer, Stan.
Stan, these are here.
About our colleagues. Yeah. We're concerned about our company. You're disengaging with the employees who work here.
So basically a bunch of entitled employees, Mary Walter, were like, you can't fire people. We're going to take a stand. And then they protested outside the HR office, and HR was like, okay, you're all fired.
Yeah, first of all, I partially feel sorry for this age group because During COVID, a lot of them, were working, but they were all working remotely. A lot of them, like my nieces, their very first job was remote. So they never learned how to interact in an office, right? Like they didn't learn the workings, that part of it. And then when they did go back to work, it was maybe 2 days a week and you only saw your team. So I think that part of that is to blame here. But otherwise, no, this is totally ridiculous. And I'm glad he fired them all. But if he was smart, if he wanted to get rid of them, he just should have taken a bunch of Lunchables and thrown them in the hall and they all would have chased after them and that would have been the end of it.
Yeah, like applesauce or something like that. All right, Cliff, remember when Mamdani over the summer during the primary debate said this?
The first foreign visit by a mayor of New York is always considered significant. Where would you go first?
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
Well, he's full of it because this morning yesterday, he went to Puerto Rico with, just breaking his promise just 2 days after winning the election.
Look, this is what socialists do, right? They promise the world and they deliver none of it. I mean, whatever they're telling you, usually what they act or what they do is the opposite. And look, I really feel bad for New York City. I mean, this guy, an avowed socialist, is now in office. And look, they're going to have to deal with the repercussions. And Carl, I'm sorry. I mean, I know a lot of folks we know are in New York City, but they're going to have to deal with the consequences of somebody that says one thing and then acts in a very different way, which he just did by coming back on what he said would be his first visit.
Mary Walter?
No, absolutely. I agree 100%. This is exactly what they do. Rules for thee, but not for me. And I even posted about this today. And of course, everything I got from the left, if they weren't swearing at me or calling me names or, screaming and yelling, is that, he just ran a really hard campaign. He was running really hard, so he needs some time off.
Yeah.
So they're just going to make
Except
excuses for it.
It's a work trip.
Exactly.
It's just people, they just make it up as they go along. Cliff, Mary, we
100%.
appreciate it. All right, coming up, a major development in the J6 pipe bomb investigation. It is unbelievable. We got a former Capitol Police Chief, Stephen Son, coming up next to break this all down.
I'm Michael Savage, and I was conservative before conservative was cool. Do you realize how crazy the liberals in this country have become? I do. You want to get me started today? I'll get started. Watch Michael Savage and the Savage Nation every Sunday night.
Have you compared your Medicare plan recently? With eHealth, you can compare Medicare plans side by side for free. So we invited people to give eHealth a try and discover how easy it can be to find your Medicare match.
This is pretty amazing. I can go on a vacation with this money. I have quite a few prescriptions.
That's why people call us. We're going to compare plans, and I'm going to try to get you as much bang for your buck as possible.
That's great.
This one here covers all your prescriptions, your doctors as well.
Oh, wonderful.
I have a hard time with this.
That's okay. That's what I'm here for. Based on our conversation today, I would highly recommend this plan.
You're so helpful. You don't know.
I'm excited for you, sir. Again, my name is Cham. If you have any other questions, give me a ring.
Thank you very much. Oh my God, that was super easy.
See how your Medicare plan stacks up with the big changes for 2026. Just call this number or get started at eHealth.com. Compare plans that cover your doctors, prescriptions, pharmacy, and budget. And compare plans from the nation's top insurance companies. They pay us to help you. How much do you think you'll be able to save using eHealth?
At least $300 a month.
Would you say you found your Medicare match?
Yes, I did. What Cham did, she explained to me exactly what I needed to know.
Well, I have a surprise for you. Cham, come on out.
Oh my goodness.
It's a pleasure to meet you today, sir.
What does it feel like to be face to face?
You helped me out quite a bit.
Call to meet your advisor. They're paid the same no matter which Medicare Advantage plan you choose. Ask them about eHealth Live Advise or get started on your own at eHealth.com. Either way, it's always a free service. See if you could get more for less with eHealth, like these folks did.
The savings are unbelievable.
I could see the costs side by side. eHealth is wonderful. $1,200 savings in my pocket. I was really pleasantly surprised with that.
Call 1-800-708-0234 to compare Medicare plans in your area or visit eHealth.com.
eHealth, your Medicare matchmaker.
Hey, I'm Daniel, one of the founders of Ridge. My dad and I realized that most wallets are falling apart, stuffed to the max, and barely fit in your back pocket. So we set out to create something better. Ridge is built to last a lifetime and is the perfect balance of modern style and durability. Find yours at ridge.com.
Think you need a new roof? Think again and save thousands.
We'll help you put off the high cost of a roof replacement for at least 5 years.
Or 10.
Or sometimes even 15.
We're America's most trusted roofer because we always try to save your roof rather than replace it.
We'll restore your roof for a fraction of the cost of a new one. But don't wait. If your roof loses too much protective coating, it's too late. Call now or scan the code and we'll give you an assessment of your roof for free.
We're talking to people today about investments. Let's see if we can get somebody. Excuse me, sir. Do you have a retirement account?
I do. I'm invested in some annuities.
Fixed income? How is that?
It was better a few years ago. Each year, it buys less and less, barely keeping up.
That's where gold can make a difference. Unlike fixed payouts, gold rises with inflation, so you're not stuck with a low fixed payment.
So gold isn't stuck in the past like my annuity?
Don't let inflation erode your retirement savings. Invest in gold. Invest with Noble Gold Investments.
Your mind is about to be blown, okay? Years after working to identify the masked individual who, on video, placed pipe bombs near the headquarters of the RNC and the DNC in Washington, D.C. on January 5th, 2021, 5 years ago, okay? 2 reporters think they have finally found out who it is. Roll it.
When I pulled this thread, I was so shocked by what I saw. I immediately took it to a source in one of the most important, highest level investigative federal agencies in the country. I immediately took it to our sources there, and I said, you have to see this. After they looked at it for about 2 hours, the response that I got back was, holy F. And then the follow-up response was, she's one of us.
She's one of us, as in the government. He also indicated that the suspect will be named as soon as the relevant agencies have, quote, battened down the hatches. Yeah, they better. But riddle me this, Batman. Why is it that a reporter, the reporter that we are going to have on this show when this story breaks on who it is, by the way, why was he able to figure this out and discover this, and the federal agencies covered it up? Former Capitol Police Chief Steve Sutton, the analysis of the hooded bomber compared to the gate and the analysis and all this stuff, private life at work, like 94% accuracy. A journalist has identified this person.
Yeah, pretty spectacular, isn't it, Carl? Again, appreciate you having me on. You know, here we are 5 years later, and we're just getting to this point now. You know, all along I felt eventually they're going to identify who is involved, the people that are involved, the purpose behind it, and that's going to be a huge puzzle piece. And the rest of this is going to begin to fall into place.
Right, and just so our audience is clear, you were the Capitol Police Chief that during the January 6th committee, where they were all about getting to the bottom of the truth, you know, the place where they deleted all the evidence that they had, you were not allowed to testify in public because you were saying the things that we now know are fact.
Oh, absolutely. They did not want me to testify in public. Matter of fact, our behind the closed doors interview got very contentious at times. They didn't want any political leadership, any congressional leadership involvement mentioned, referenced in there. They didn't want to, acknowledge my repeated request for National Guard support in advance of January 6th and on January 6th. It was a shame, but that was just they weren't investigating what happened on January 6th. They were just trying to pin the all of January 6th on one person.
Right. These pipe bombs that were set, 24 hours in advance with 60-minute timers on them. They were told us that the bomb sweeping dogs came through and they never found them or anything like that. How many more questions has this raised for you, sir?
Oh, this has raised a lot of questions. I mean, think about it. It was 12:42 p.m. when we found the first pipe bomb. That was 11 minutes before we had the riot get out of hand on the West Front. There couldn't have been a worse timing for that. That pulled away resources, that diverted attention, that cost lives. To have that happen cost me to push a lot of resources over there. So for me, I've always had a lot of questions about this. And here we are. Like I said, Kash Patel's been in office since February 21st, almost 9 months. Mm-hmm. We knew, I don't think it was being investigated at all under the Christopher Wray FBI. So hopefully they're going to get to the bottom of it. But I knew somebody had to have been looking at this again and just starting the investigation from square one. they need to go back and they need to interview everybody that's involved with this to get to the bottom, because this is a big piece of what happened on January 6th.
I'll be honest, like, I was talking about this last night in my open, which is if they don't start charging people for this, like, Republicans are just going to stay home in the midterm. I mean, like, you had 274 undercover, assets or UCs or whatever you want to call them, linguistics aside. They had 274 people working for the FBI in the crowd that they previously denied.
Well, I think, the very beginning of what you just said is most important. They keep coming up with, hey, we know this is going to break any minute, and, it's going to be explosive, and you don't see anything happen. That, I think people are just getting tired of that, and that's why I'm just very cautious on this reporting. Let's just see what goes on, because, we've heard this before. So if they've got the facts and they can, take it to a grand jury, we can get some indictments. That's when I want to start, seeing something. That's when I'm happy to make some comments on what's going on, because until we see that, the American people aren't really feeling that anything's getting done.
Yeah. Well, I really hope that we can get some stuff done here, because I'm sick and tired of talking points and potential and, all these reporters uncovering things that the FBI should have uncovered the second day. Stephen, we appreciate it, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Coming up, from the front lines of combat to the front lines of manufacturing, a father-son duo has built a bold ammo empire from scratch. We got Made in America next.
TNT Sports. College basketball gets even bigger. Utah Tech takes on Arizona tonight at 8:30 Eastern on TNT, True TV, and stream on HBO Max.
Hello, everyone. It's President Donald J. Trump, and it's Trump time. Check out this red beauty. It's one of my new watches. Wear it proudly on your wrist, and everyone will know exactly what it's for, who it represents. It's really going to be something special. It's for your favorite president. Get your watch today at GetTrumpWatches.com. These make a great gift. It's Trump time.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Get 35% off your first preferred set by using discount code Newsmax.
This is keratin debris, where nail fungus grows. Nonix Nail Gel cleans out fungus by removing keratin debris. Using Nonix, 90% of nails improve. Get clinically proven results. So effective, it's money-back guaranteed.
This is a story about the one. The one who looks to Grainger to make sparks fly. Getting it done right is a craft. It takes experience, the right material, and the right partner like Grainger, with a wide range of professional-grade products. For the one, working hard means others can play even harder. Call, click Grainger.com, or stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
There are only a few men I'd trust with my life. Two of them built this wallet. I've known the guys behind Proof for nearly 20 years, and we've been through hell and back together. When they told me they were building the wallet, I just said, bill me now, I'm in. This isn't some fashion piece. This isn't just some trend. These wallets are a direct reflection of the kind of men who built it. It's built to last, built to function, and designed to carry everything you need and more. If anything happens to it, they'll take care of it. No questions, no fine print. If you knew the guys who created this wallet, you wouldn't carry anything else. Go check them out, because they built this thing right.
Your parents have given you some amazing gifts. Celebrate the ones you inherited with Ancestry DNA. Explore the detailed family roots, cultures, and traits that shaped who you are today for only $39.
All right, Made in America, we're highlighting businesses that are doing it right, manufacturing here at home, because Made in America ain't just a label, it's how we're making America great again. One job, one product, one community at a time. Founded on integrity in 2018 by a guy with a military background, First Breach is a match-grade ammo manufacturing company producing every piece of the bullet, casings and primers and everything here in America. No imports, no shortcuts, no supply chains that we need to worry about for national security, just clean, accurate, affordable rounds for your boomsticks, your freedom tools, or your piece, made right here in the U.S. of A. From the front lines of combat to the front lines of manufacturing, CEO of First Breach, Jeffrey Lowe, President COO of First Breach, Jordan Lowe, and country lead for Idea Forge, Parmender Desi. All right, Jeff, you and I have been going back and forth with this. This is fantastic. Everything's made in America, while most ammo companies right now, people don't even know, they're being sold off to the Czech Republic.
Exactly. We were a small company. We started actually in my garage and, wholesaling. And we really saw the need for significantly more ammunition from the government, from the entire country. And we developed, and this morphed into approximately 200,000 square feet of true American manufacturing. We do everything, as you said, soup to nuts, even smelting some of our own metals on site, and really creating a match grade quality product. We knew we had to come to the table. We were going to be under that proverbial microscope of our products, and we feel like our products are second to none right now.
Yeah, Jordan, this is another thing too, is your factories, I haven't physically been there, but you showed me the pictures of these things. Pristine, state-of-the-art equipment. I mean, this is a massive undertaking to compete at this level.
Right. Well, we appreciate that. Cleanliness is next to godliness, as they say. We traveled the globe to find the right equipment. Once we purchased our equipment, procured everything, we essentially gutted it down and rebuilt everything just to get to the specifications that we felt we needed to compete and provide for the American public.
Yeah, but national defense is a big thing here. If more and more ammo companies are selling overseas, I mean, we saw this during COVID, where ammo became double, triple the price in some cases. They're going overseas, things like this. We're not producing physically enough ammunition here to supply our national defense.
I couldn't agree more. Keeping manufacturing here prevents some vulnerabilities that we may have and dependencies on foreign product. So as we talk about this, currently First Breach is growing, adding on more equipment, and in the time to come in the future, we're going to exponentially get larger.
Yeah, well, Parmender, the country obviously lead for your Idea Forge, which is ranked third globally to manufacture and distribute drones. This is another thing. Tons of drones out there are made in China, with parts from other countries. You guys are producing a drone that will be distributed here in the U.S., exclusively made in the U.S. This is huge for DOD or even, amateur people.
No, absolutely. We're truly excited to partner with First Breach to build high-performance quality drones right here in Maryland. So we have already done 700,000 missions. Every 3 minutes that a drone flies is from Idea Forge. We are ranked third in the global drone industry in dual-use category. Mm-hmm. We are NDA compliant with non-Chinese supply chain. In fact, we have our chips, our cameras, our LiDARs, and many of the payloads are made right here in the U.S. with companies like Qualcomm, FLIR, as well as Inertia Labs. So we are truly excited to bring this, strengthen the manufacturing of the U.S. defense base.
Well, Jeffrey, Jordan, Parmender, we appreciate it. Best of luck. This is going to be massive.
Thanks for having us, Carl. Appreciate it.
All right, of course. All right, folks, don't go anywhere. Back just a second.
The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
Hi, folks. I'd like to tell you about Wi-Refi.
Did you know that as an accredited investor, when you invest in YREFI, your interest rate is fixed? And did you know that you can invest from 1 to 5 years and you can spread your investment over those terms to best suit your needs? And you have the freedom to take your monthly interest income or reinvest it, whatever you choose. When you invest in YREFI, your interest is calculated daily, you're paid monthly, and should you need your money back early, there is a liquidity feature. Would you like more information? All you have to do is call 877-80-INVEST. That's 877-80-INVEST, or log on to investyrrefi.com. That's investyrrefi.com for complete details. And make sure you review the private placement memorandum and scan this QR code to view the disclosure at your leisure. YREFI, investing in America's future.
Consumer Cellular knows there are a lot of offers flying around, but they slip away too fast. We don't play games. What you see is what you get. Bet you're glad you wore cargo pants. See how we can cut your bill. Call Consumer Cellular.
The Ridge wallet is iconic at this point, but I'm just going to speak facts here. It's slim, it's RFID blocking, it's awesome, it's comfortable, I love it. I carry it every day. And then every wallet at ridge.com has like an unlimited lifetime warranty, so you don't have to worry about it falling apart. Check it out at ridge.com.
Are you getting the most from your Medicare plan?
It's overwhelming, actually.
Really confusing. It was always a struggle for us trying to narrow it down.
With Matchfinder by eHealth, it's easy to see if you could get more coverage for less money. So we invited people to give it a try.
This is the first time I'll be able to see the major plans side by side.
Put your doctors in, put your prescriptions in.
I'd like to add a doctor. Oh, and there he is.
Yeah, that's a good deal right there.
I'm all about saving money.
See if you could get more for less with the new Medicare plan. Go to eHealth.com and try Matchfinder. Compare your current plan to new 2026 plans from the nation's top insurance companies. Enter your doctors and prescriptions and choose from plans ranked for you by cost, coverage, and satisfaction. Or call this number to compare plans with the help of an eHealth advisor. They're paid the same no matter which Medicare Advantage plan you choose.
Thanks for calling eHealth. How can I help you today?
One thing I'm looking for is lowering prescription costs.
Awesome. We can do this together. This looks like this is going to be pretty cost effective for your prescriptions. So you're saving money across the board while also increasing your benefits. What do you think?
All right, sounds good. Thank you. That was amazing. I mean, it's a great plan.
How was that?
It was easy.
And would you recommend this to other folks?
Heck yeah, if they're paying high prices like I am now. Well, let me tell you, go to these guys.
Call this number for your Medicare plan comparison or get started at eHealth.com. Either way, it's always a free service.
They weren't pushing just one plan. They're going to look for what's perfect for you.
It's going to save me close to about $400 or $500 a year.
The Matchfinder, that's the greatest idea I've seen in a long time.
The fact that it was free makes it a whole lot better.
Call 1-800-705-0863 to compare Medicare plans in your area or visit eHealth.com.
eHealth, your Medicare matchmaker.
Hey, did you know that according to some people, being able to sit on an airplane is a matter of privilege?
Can you tell me what category of fat I fit in?
So it's based on your shirt size.
Okay.
So if you are a 1 or 2X, you are small fat. 3 to 4X, you are mid fat. 5 to 6X, you are super fat. So that base is based on what level of privilege you have in the world. So someone in a small fat category may not struggle getting on an airplane, but someone in a mid fat or super fat may not be able to use even the airplane extender.
If somebody is less fat, then them being able to get onto an airplane is a privilege, or is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not making fun of fat people, but 3 to 4X is mid fat? I mean, Bob, I am 250 pounds and I'm an XL. You're like 3 inches tall. You're like 6'2", 6'3".
230. My God. What are they supposed to do? Build bigger planes like jumbo? What?
C-130?
How could you let yourself get like that?
I don't know, man. Like, I want people to be healthy. That's what it comes down to. I'm not making fun of fat people. I genuinely want people to be healthy because that is.
I do too.
Heart disease is the number one killer in America. Forget everything else. Forget COVID or whatever. Kills 700,000 people a year, mostly from overweight. So.
How about try just going to the gym, eating a proper diet? You'll start feeling really good, I promise. I've done it with Carl.
Yeah. All right, Bob.
All right, man.
Take it away,
Appreciate
brother.
See you next week.